Investigators around the world work tirelessly to bring closure to cold cases. Whether that's through the use of emerging forensic technologies or with new witness statements. In the last year, hundreds of cold cases have been solved, giving renewed hope to families who are still waiting for justice. Number 5. A short while back, we brought you the story of Brian Goff and Joni Davis, who mysteriously vanished on June 10, 2018. The pair were last seen getting into their blue 4-door 1990 Oldsmobile 88 and heading north on Route 7. Their families told investigators and the media that there was no reason for the two to be driving in that direction, and that the pair kept a very strict routine. Since 2018, the families of Brian and Joni have worked tirelessly to keep their stories in the spotlight, in the hopes that someone would come forward. As the weeks passed, the case of Brian and Joni became colder and colder, and their families believed that they would never have answers. That was until November 10, 2021, when the organization Chaos Divers made a startling discovery. The Chaos Divers are an organization of volunteers whose mission is to solve missing person cases and clean up waterways of debris and large objects. According to a WTRF article, the Chaos Divers were working in the Ohio River on another case when they had the idea to search the other side just in case. Jacob Grubbs, a volunteer with the Chaos Divers, told WTRF, quote, "We turned around to the other side. We were aware of the case of Joni and Brian, so we decided, hey, let's go over and try to see if we can locate them." Jacob, along with the team, searched the Ohio River, and at around 4 a.m. on November 11, 2021, their sonar pinged up an image. It was the image of a 1990 Oldsmobile 88 with an Ohio license plate. The Chaos Divers were able to retrieve the car from the Ohio River, and the bodies of Joni and Brian Goff were found inside with their seatbelts still fastened. The families of Joni and Brian were informed later that day, but have yet to comment publicly. The Jefferson County Medical Examiner and Coroner's Office will now carry out an autopsy to determine their cause of death. If you have any information about Joni and Brian's case, you're asked to contact the Belmont County Sheriff's Office on 740-695-7933 or contact your local FBI office. Number 4. On October 24, 2012, the Des Moines Police Department received a call asking them to attend an incident located on Vine and Southwest 1st Street in downtown Des Moines. A passerby had spotted the body of a man underneath a railway track on the Des Moines riverbank and ran to fetch help as his phone battery was dead. Within minutes, the Des Moines Police Department descended on the area, and the man was transported to the medical examiner's office. Just hours after the man had been found, the Des Moines Police Department confirmed that the body belonged to 56-year-old Stanley Golinski. The police knew that Golinski frequented homeless shelters and desperately tried to get in contact with Stanley's family to notify them. The public nature of the discovery sent the Des Moines community into shock. This was only heightened when the medical examiner released a verdict of homicide, leaving the community wondering who could be capable of something like this. In a press conference, the medical examiner's office said, quote, "These injuries he had weren't obvious, which is why it took a period of time to determine how these could have possibly happened. During that investigation, it became obvious that these injuries had to be caused by another person." As the months passed, Stanley's case grew colder, but the Des Moines Police Department never gave up hope that one day someone would be brought to justice for their actions. Then in October of 2021, the Des Moines Police Department announced that William Ruley, who was already incarcerated in the Iowa prison system, was now facing extra charges in regards to Stanley Golinski. According to a KCRG article, Ruley confessed his crime to a prison guard in late 2021. He was able to recall specific and graphic details about the crime that had never been released to the public. The case against William Ruley is currently ongoing, and he'll be brought in front of the Polk County judge to face the extra charges against him. Number 3. On July 2nd, 2019, the Polk County Sheriff's Office received a call from the daughter of 58-year-old Mark Allen Austin, requesting a welfare check as she hadn't heard from her dad in over a month. According to Mark's associates and those who lived nearby his rural home, they last saw him on May 28, 2019, and hadn't had any contact with him after that. This information deeply concerned the Polk County Sheriff's Office, and they entered his home in rural Polk County to see if there was any sign of him. Upon entering the house, they didn't find any sign of Mark. In recent years, Mark had been mourning the loss of his wife and had fallen into a deep depression, but always kept in contact with his family. The Polk County Sheriff's Office also found that Mark's wallet, phone, and car were still in the home, and there was no sign of a struggle. Following the wellness check, Mark was officially reported missing, and the Polk County Sheriff's Office appealed to anyone with information to come forward. Then, in November of 2020, there was finally a break in Mark's case. On November 30th, 2020, the Polk County Sheriff's investigators and the Arkansas State Police special agents responded to a call in a field in the Illinois Bayou, a mere mile away from Broomfield Road where Mark lived. According to a River Valley Now article, the investigators recovered human remains, which were then sent to the Arkansas State Crime Lab for identification. In due time, the remains were identified as missing 58-year-old Mark Allen Austin, who was last seen in May of 2019. His manner of death is listed as undetermined, and the Arkansas State Crime Lab and the Polk County Sheriff's Office are working hard to unravel what happened to Mark. If you have any information, you're asked to contact Lieutenant Dan Yarborough of the Polk County Sheriff's Department at 479-968-2558. Number 2. Montoya Deonte Sharp's story has only recently hit the headlines, and there will be many more details to follow. In 1995, 19-year-old Montoya stood in front of a judge as he was sentenced to life in prison for a crime that he did not commit. No matter how much he begged and pleaded, his calls went unanswered, and as the gavel hit, Montoya's fate was sealed. He had been arrested and falsely convicted in the case of 33-year-old George Radcliffe, who had been found deceased in his truck in 1994. His conviction was based on the testimony of a witness who claimed that she saw Montoya and George fighting before a scuffle occurred. In the weeks after the trial, she recanted her statement, but the damage had already been done. In the years afterward, the star witness claimed that she'd been influenced by police officers and accused a detective of bribing her with gifts and money. Montoya refused to let the possibility of a life sentence crush him, and used his time to appeal his sentence. Finally, in 2019, he won the appeal and was released from prison, where he had spent 24 years for a crime he didn't commit. The star witness in Montoya's trial admitted that she lied about seeing Montoya that day, and even confessed that she wasn't even there, so she couldn't have seen anything. All charges against him were also dropped by the Pitt County District Attorney's Office and would not be pursued further. Montoya found himself in the headlines once again in mid-November of 2021, when the North Carolina Governor, Roy Cooper, announced that he had officially pardoned him for his crimes. In a statement to the press, Governor Cooper said, quote, "Mr. Sharp and others who have been wrongfully convicted deserve to have injustice fully and publicly acknowledged." This pardon now means that Montoya and his legal team can pursue up to $750,000 in compensation for his wrongful conviction. Montoya told the Washington Post that he hasn't been able to sleep since he was pardoned because he's been thinking about ways to help others who were in his position. He said, "The only way forward for me is to bring about change in the criminal justice system. It's a slow process, but I'm 46, not 86. I've got time to do things." Number 1. 24-year-old Sydney Loofe of Lincoln, Nebraska, matched with a Tinder date in November of 2017, and finally met her date face-to-face on November 15, 2017. Sydney told her friends and family that she was excited about the date, and she promised to tell them all about it when she got home. But Sydney never did return home. On November 16, 2017, Sydney failed to show up for work, which was extremely out of character. Her family called the police to report her missing and prayed that she would return home soon. Investigators found that Sydney's phone had been turned off and that it had last pinged near Wilbur, Nebraska, over 40 miles away. They also discovered that on the evening of November 15, 2017, Sydney had met with 26-year-old Bailey Boswell. It transpired that 54-year-old Aubrey Trail, Bailey's boyfriend, was the one who had chosen Sydney on Tinder, and that they had agreed to participate in sexual acts together. On December 4, 2017, Sydney's remains were found on a rural road in Clay County, Nebraska, with Trail and Boswell being arrested shortly after. Due to the ongoing global situation, their trials were delayed, but finally, in 2021, justice was served for Sydney. The couple were tried separately, with Aubrey Trail's trial being the first to be heard before a court. During the proceedings, he claimed that he attacked Sydney because he freaked out after he'd asked her to join the sex club he and Bailey Boswell were a part of. This club had been likened to a cult where young women were brought in to play games at the request of the group's leaders. For his part in the crime, Aubrey Trail was handed down a sentence of capital punishment and became the 12th person on Nebraska's death row. Trail addressed Sydney's parents via a statement, saying, quote, "I realize nothing I can say here will change in the least what I did to Sydney 3.5 years ago. I won't say I'm sorry, as that would be an insult to you after what I put you through. And I won't ask for forgiveness, as I don't believe there is such a thing." On November 9, 2021, Bailey Boswell faced the court once again to be sentenced. Unlike her co-conspirator, she escaped capital punishment and instead will serve a life sentence. This move angered the community and has left people asking whether women receive lighter sentences based on their gender. One of the judges who made up the 3-judge panel disagreed with the notion that Bailey Boswell would face capital punishment, saying, quote, "This dissent should in no way diminish the senselessness of this crime and the great pain it's caused Sydney's family and friends. But because I could not find reasonable doubt that the state met the burden of proof, I have to dissent from the other judges on the panel." Bailey Boswell will now spend the rest of her life behind bars, while Aubrey Trail awaits his death on Nebraska's death row. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you liked this video, be sure to hit that like button. Also, don't forget to subscribe and click that notification bell to keep up to date with all of our future uploads. But I've been Ty Knots, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.